One. All right, we are live. Good evening. This is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First one is Miss G, Miss Georgette Truin. Hello, Miss G. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thanks.
And we have our next co-host, Miss Cassandra Woodard. Cassandra, how are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good. I can't get over your whole connection. You look good. You sound good.
Thank you.
A great connection. Great connection. All right. Let's say Deirdre says, "Hey, hey, Deirdre," and Monia, hello. What, Georgia? What does Deirdre mean? And you have me. What does that mean? Do you know? You guys know? All right.
Mhm.
All right. So, Miss G, I guess we're not doing any stories tonight, any guests tonight, so it looks like we're having question and answers. Before we start, did you or Cassandra have any questions that you wanted me to ask? Because people are starting to post a lot of stuff.
I would like to share something with the public. So I have the producer, Grace. She's going to show a picture online for us in a few seconds. Um, so there's a grandmother, and most likely she's watching tonight. Um, I'm not going to say the county, I'm just going to say California. And the grandchild, she noticed that there's a diaper rash. I mean, she noticed that there's something unusual, changing the child's diaper. And the social worker did not acknowledge it, and they told her it was a diaper rash. She sent me the picture, and it wasn't a diaper rash. I had to cut the picture just to show the condition the baby is in, because I didn't want to show the baby's face. Um, but what I can tell you guys, honestly, I mentioned several times that CPS um, favor the abusers, and I'm convinced now. It's 100%. I'm 100% convinced it's true, because this woman is not the only woman that was concerned about abuse on the child. If I show you When I show you guys the picture right now, you're going to be in disbelief. Um, but if that was a mother and that baby was in that mother's care, that baby would be removed from the mom. But CPS will have that lady adopt that child with the abuse apparent on the child. Grace, if you're listening, please post the picture. This is the diaper rash, according to social workers. This is not a diaper rash. And the grandmother, it was a nurse for 35 years. She said she's never seen that to be a diaper rash. She's not an ignorant woman. She's an educated woman. CPS don't want to place the children with her. Um, but this is the condition the baby is in. And it's really sad that CPS sees that as a diaper rash. And if you look at the picture, you see two holes, one big hole, the other one, but it looks like it's infected. And Grace, you can remove the picture now. I don't know how she's going to move it. Okay. So this is just an example. I've seen other pictures. I've seen other cases where it's not just California, it's happening everywhere in the United States. And children are being abused. Children have marks on their faces, their foreheads, the back of their necks. And the social workers threaten parents, threaten relatives. If they make a report, they will never. They're gonna lose all connection to the children, and all they get is threats, 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 and it's very sad. That's what I wanted to share with you guys today.
Any questions? Ms. G, any questions?
Any questions about
Did you have any questions about anything else?
um for this type of situation for the grandmother um who's losing in court to have her grandkids with her, what advice would you give her after you saw the picture?
Well, I don't know anything else about the case, but just generally, I would say number one, um, have that investigated by a doctor. If a doctor suspects child abuse, they're supposed to report it as child abuse.
Hmm.
Number two, she can get an expert medical opinion who can provide a report to the social worker and to the judge, more importantly, that this was abuse. She can file a 388 to get the child out of that home. And I'm going to assume for a minute she'd rather have the child in her custody. Um, so those are the general things I'd do. I would also have her consider filing a suspected child abuse report. Then that's going to be probably assigned to someone other than the social worker on the case, and they'll make their determination, on their own, separate and apart from the social worker on the case.
Mhm.
So those are some of the things that I'd do, and I definitely, if the social worker on the case um, isn't doing anything, I definitely would take action to get in front of the judge to have the judge see it, and determine what's going on and see if that child who apparently is a dependent of the court, you know, um, protected, right? I really couldn't tell where that injury was, Miss G. Was that like, it looked like it might be on the upper hip, which would probably be covered by the diaper, but that's not usually where diaper rashes, occur,
But
right?
that's what I it was like near the behind part of the child. I just had to cut the picture so nobody can see the face. So
Okay. Yeah. I,
either way, something is not right with it.
right,
It's not a diaper
right,
rash. So
right.
therefore, um,
How old is that child?
I believe either 6 months or something like that. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Now, here's Deidre says that's clearly a cigarette burn, and several people have said that.
Mhm.
I can't say that I'm an expert on cigarette burns, but several people have said that.
It didn't. I don't know what a cigarette burn looks like, but if people say it, I believe it. I don't. I've never seen a cigarette burn before, but this is insane. This is insane. That child is being tortured, and
If it's a cigarette burn, it's a really bad, bad cigarette burn, for sure, for sure.
I raised two children. I never saw any diaper rash that looked like that.
No.
never, never. This is insane. And the thing about it is that the court, because she's the grandmother, they're literally treating her like nothing. And I, I mean, with her background being a nurse for 35 years, that's insane. Um, I
Why?
mean,
Why isn't the child placed with her as the grandmother?
a social worker wants to adopt that child. That's where they get most of their funding. I told you this 100 times, and you should know this. They get most of their funding from adoption. So they always aim for adoption. Always. They always aim for adoption. Reunification services doesn't happen in the Department of Child Services all over the United States of America. Reunification is not, even though that's what they should be doing, that's not what they're doing because they know how to go around it. A snake will always be a snake. That will never change. So they go after the money. All they want is the funding. That's all it is. So it is. So did they deceive the weak, which is the parent, the mother, the grandmother, whatever? They deceive them. They lie to them. They keep
Have
information
the,
from the courts, and you think they didn't address that to the court appointed attorneys? They did. They're not going to do anything because they're going to say they said to the grandmother, just listen to the social worker. It's a diaper rash. So how is that? How is that helping the public? I mean, granted, they have help, free help for them, but how is that really helping them if all the government cares about is Title IV funding? That's all they care about. So
have,
our money is being held, right? We pay taxes, we give to the government, but they're using it to steal children. $92 billion to be funded to Department of Child Services in the state. That's a lot of money. That's a year between 92 to 95 billion dollars. So
that's the budget for CPS nationwide.
from Massachusetts, California, and I believe Ohio or Utah. I can't remember, but there was another state that I know of.
Now, what I was asking is the $92 billion a national budget or a budget just for one or two states?
From the what? Well, when my research, it was only like a few states that I found that I could remember from the top of my head.
Yeah.
But usually that's all over the United States, though.
Right. Many years ago, this has been maybe at least 10 years ago, maybe more. I did some research on that. And at that time, it was 70 billion nationwide. And,
Mm-hmm.
assuming, inflation and, more and more money people are throwing at child abuse,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised that it's now 90. Did you know that if you started counting right now, you would not reach 1 billion before you died?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wouldn't reach it. And this is 90 billion.
Yes.
Imagine how big that number is.
Yeah. But then there was another state that I researched. There like 48,000 kids are removed, and only 300 kids had from those 48,000. 300 kids or 300 families had the opportunity to appeal. The other ones didn't.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, a trial, sorry. They had the opportunity to have trial. The other ones didn't.
I saw this one time, and I forget what the percentage it was, but it was very low. And that is, given the number of children that are taken away from parents nationwide, what percentage of the children actually go back home?
Um, Usually the families that can afford an attorney have better chances when they do go to the attorney ahead of the case, like from the beginning of the case. But oftentimes when they wait too long on the case, they already damaged so much, and it needs it needs money, right? Like to be able to go in and fix all the damage that was done on the case. So, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and effort from the attorney to fix all the damage the other attorneys did, or what the mother did, what the father did, what the grandparents did. Because oftentimes humans think that you can talk to the devil and get good results. It doesn't work that way. When you're dealing with people who lack emotions, lack empathy, they're not normal people. They're not normal people. You can't reason with them. You can't make sense to them. You can't. So it's best for you to hire somebody who's able and understands how to handle these type of people. So you're not dealing with normal, you're dealing with crazy. And you need a son of a bitch attorney to deal with the crazy. Because if you don't have that attorney, you can't deal with crazy on your own. So you need another snake in the grass, right? To deal with a snake in the grass. And we'll see which snake devours who, kind of like, snakes swallow each other. Believe it or not, I've seen that in the Animal Channel. So you just don't know. You need an attorney that will swallow that snake. That's what you need. You don't need no nice attorney. You need an asshole. And that's the bottom line. So with that being said, don't wait on your case. Don't think that you can actually win your case on your own, because you don't know anything about CPS. You don't know how, you don't know nothing. You have no idea. This is not the flu. This is not a minor cold. Take Tylenol and go to sleep, or, fix yourself some lemonade. No, it doesn't work that way. This is your children's lives. Your children's lives are at stake. You don't toy with it. You don't wait to see what's going to happen. Like, I had several people call me the whole entire time I've been working with Davis. Miss G, is just the beginning of the case. Let's see what's going to happen in the first hearing. Well, I'm sorry if you think that way, but you're stupid. If you think that there's going to be good results from the first hearing, that's actually when you need an attorney the most, in your first hearing. And don't be deceived. And please, don't just hire a cheap attorney because you think that attorney knows what they're doing. I have brought the retainers down so low, Mr. Davis couldn't believe it. So I can help as many people as possible. And you guys still complain over $5,000 retainer. That is, to me, or $4,000 retainer. I mean, Davis doesn't even know, really, until later today he found out a little bit about two people. But retainers are that low. I'm trying to help you guys. But you're still, this is the beginning of your case. Don't say, oh my God. Don't say that you're going to get good results, because that really bothers me, because you're not. And I hate to break it to you. Like this lady said to me, I want you to tell me the truth. I told her the truth. Well, that's very hurtful. Well, you asked me to tell you the truth. If it's going to hurt you, then don't ask me to tell you the truth. And I'm not going to lie to you, because you're a mother and I'm a mother and everyone I know is a mother. So therefore, you want somebody to tell you the truth. 95% of you guys love that I do tell you straight out how it is. And you guys tell me not to sugarcoat shit to you guys, and I don't. But the ones that want you to lie to them, I can't do that. Because what's the point of me telling you what you want to hear, and then the results are going to end up being what I told you to begin with. And you guys, when you look for an attorney, you always look for a family law attorney. I ask you million times, same people that call me constantly, why did you look for a family law attorney? Well, they wanted to take $1,900. That's the cheapest I can find. You don't go for the cheapest. I'll give you an example. I bought a pair of shoes. Cheap. Was $17. Not leather, but it was cheap. Well, guess what? It only lasted 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's $17. But just imagine you keep spending $17, $17, $17 is going to add up to one good shoe. So don't play bargain with your children. This is not swap meet to go look for bargains. This is actual lives of children. If you have family and friends, ask them to help you. But I'm doing the best I can on my end, without my boss knowing, to try to help everyone I can. So take advantage of it and freaking find a way. Instead of you numbed and crying, put on your armor and fucking fight for your kids. And like I said, you need a snake to devour the other snake. Not a family law attorney. They're not going to devour shit. They're going to be devoured. Because they don't know what the hell they're doing in CPS court, and might as well stay with your court-appointed attorney. Why pay $1,900 for a family law attorney that doesn't know shit about CPS? And I keep telling you guys this over and over again. My mission is to get every child back home. Why? That's the only way, in my heart, my mind and heart, that's the only way I can fuck with CPS. To make sure every child comes home to their parents or relatives. That's the only way to defeat CPS. So in my mind, that's my goal. But you guys are not listening, and you guys are playing games with kids' lives. So you need to listen, you need to wise up, and you need to wake up. You need to research, you need to know your rights, you need to understand who you have in your corner and listen to your attorney. I told you guys this before. If you hire Attorney Davis, listen to him. If you don't like his strategy, tough. You're not the attorney. You either want to win, you want to get your kids back, or you want to win. Destroying the social worker, it's not going to work. You want to get your kids back? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. So if your focus is to get your kids back, then focus on that. Your focus is not on the other party, what they're doing, how the other parent is bad. This shit is going to put you in that shit load of problems. You know why? Because you're actually focused on the other parent. And I didn't realize this until one person one time was talking and said, you must have feelings for that person. And the conversation was about that woman's ex. And I listened to both of them and I thought about it. And I was like, oh my God, that makes sense. So your feelings should be for your children, not the one that hurt you the most. And you guys are not understanding that. And somehow it goes from one ear out from the other ear. And then again, you call me again the following day, the same shit. My ex-wife is doing this. My ex-husband is doing this. But I want him exposed. I want her exposed. It's so stupid. So fucking childish. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If they have another relationship, that's not replacing you. It's not going to replace you as a father, and it's not going to replace you as a mother. So why are you so focused on that? Why are you so focused on you being replaced with the other guy when you will never be replaced as a father? So let's focus on the children. And I'm going to tell you this over and over again. Focus on your kids. They're the most important thing. They should be the most important part of your life. And there is no going back, and you just can't change the past. You just have to focus on the now, moving forward. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit back? Are you going to be ashamed to tell your family for help? Why? I have no idea. Oftentimes people say, I don't want to ask my family for help. Why? I'm ashamed. Well, put your fucking feelings aside. Suck it up and get your kids back. And you can be ashamed all you want afterwards. But right now, you need to focus on one thing, is get your kids back. And that's it, because oftentimes you guys are your own worst enemy. You guys damage your case all by yourself. All by yourself. Then you get angry when you call me, and then you want Attorney Davis to fix all that shit. And then when he gives you advice, you don't want to listen to the advice. And you still want to continue fucking your case all by yourself. And then when you don't get the results you want, then you say Mr. Davis has no heart. Mr. Davis should have a heart. He has shows to help people. Well, yeah, we have a heart. Davis has a heart. But Davis also has to pay his bills, just like you have to pay your bills. We didn't get you to where you are. You got yourself there. So let's focus on the positive and let's not focus on the negative, and talk to your family and friends to help you get your kids back. Bottom line, if you have to go door to door in your neighborhood, then do it. Do it. If you have to get down on your knees to beg your brother to forgive you because of a fight you guys had 10 years ago, do it. Do it. Just do it. Do whatever is possible to get your kids back. I'm telling you, this shit is real, and I'm not kidding you. The most important mission for me is to make sure everybody gets their kids back. And that's why I work long hours, and that's why I answer your calls at 11 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I respond to you guys' messages, is to make sure that you guys get the help that you need. I'm doing this on my own time, so don't fuck with me with bullshit. All I want is some serious people that really want to get their kids back. And that's all I care about, is the kids. I really don't care about anything else. And that's really all I have to say.
All right, we'll get to some of the questions. Um, I think Deidre asked, and I'm looking for it. Deidre Payne asked, "Do I only represent? Do I ever represent the parent being accused of abuse?" And the answer is yes. Yes, I do. I mean, as a matter of fact, that's most of the people that I represent. Because if you're not being accused of abuse, there's no need to call me, right? So most of the people that call me are, they have some problem with the social worker or with the juvenile court. Do either of you two ladies see any questions in the comments that we can answer?
No, but I do have a couple of questions that I wrote down for people. Um,
Go ahead.
One question is, from the beginning of the case with CPS, can a parent request immediately for the, I'm sorry, from the beginning of the case, can a parent can a parent take the child to the relative immediately? Meaning when they get the notification of social workers trying to contact them, can they immediately take the child to the relative?
The answer is yes.
And
That doesn't mean that the social worker will leave the child there, but the parent can take the child there.
okay, so what if the parent takes the child there and then they get an attorney like yourself? Okay, what would you do in that situation when the social worker goes to the grandmother and removes the child?
What would I do if the social worker removed the child from the grandmother?
Hmm.
I would go to court and try to have the child placed back there by the judge.
From the beginning of the case.
Hmm.
Okay, what if the child is with the grandmother for 6 months while the mother gets her act together in another state to be able to survive with that child, with getting a job and a place to live, what have you? She's a single mom. So the grandmother had the child for 6 months. Then the mother was reported by the father, because he's an idiot and he regretted it. But again, CPS took that child from the grandmother.
Wait, hold on. What's the question?
The question is, why do they have to take the child from the grandmother if the allegation was against the mom who wasn't even in the state? The allegation came from the father that the mother is not a good mom, but the grandmother had the child for 6 months. So why would they remove the child from the grandmother if the allegation was against the biological mom?
Well, the reasons are infinite. Not all reasons would be good either. But, that happens a lot. I mean, we get calls from relatives who the social worker is trying to remove the kid from all the time. All the time. I got one today, a grandmother. She, let's see, she has the kids for about 2 years now. Mother was trying to get her reunification services completed, was having a bit of difficulty. And the grandmother today received a notice that the social worker was going to try to remove the kids in 14 days. It's called a 14-day notice. And she called me and asked what she could do to try to stop this. But unfortunately, I see that all the time. People call me with that problem from all over the state of California, all over the United States for that matter. So why they do it, I have no idea. They don't discuss it with me. Could be a lot of reasons, from retaliation to the grandmother being, accused of something. You know, every so often I get that case where they accuse the grandmother of doing something wrong. Is it legitimate? I don't know. Probably not. Has it ever been legitimate? Yeah, yeah. I spoke to a grandmother not too long ago where she's been making official complaints against the social worker for not providing services that the children or child needs. And they recently gave her a notice that they were going to come try to take the child. Or not the child, the children. I think there were like 3 children. And she believed it was retaliation. And the way, I listened to the story, it seemed like it was just a cold case of retaliation. Do social workers do that? Yeah, they do. Does everyone in the system know that social workers do that? I think so.
People need to understand that all the social workers are focused on is getting the child adopted. I kid you not. You guys have to understand there's group homes in LA County alone that's owned by a judge, a CPS judge, a state judge, four group homes, and they take kids who are neglected and what failed to protect. And all the cases, and that was all over the news. All the cases that he had in his courts is failed to protect. So, I mean, I couldn't say the name of the judge because Attorney Davis told me not to, and I mentioned this to you guys a year ago. But this shit is real. All they care about is money. So you guys need to lawyer up and get a competent attorney. Competent attorney. And when you guys call me to schedule an appointment with Davis, please do not ask me. Do not tell me what your availability is. You're talking to an attorney's office. His availability is not your availability. So if you need to speak to him badly, you need to be available when he calls you. When he calls you and then you call us back and tell us he never called you, we keep records of all calls Mr. Davis makes. So it's very shameful for you guys to continue to play games, but some of you guys are serious, some of you guys are not serious. You want me to schedule an appointment with Davis? Answer your damn phone. Answer the damn phone. I don't care if you're on the phone with the vice president of the United fucking States. Answer your call because Attorney Davis is not going to wait for you. He has shit to do. So keep in mind, I don't play games. So when you have an appointment, answer your call, period. So I will make it happen. I get Mr. Davis immediately. I call him immediately. And I make sure he's on the call with me when I know he's available. Or if I schedule you, answer the call. I had to send somebody screenshots to show them that Mr. Davis texted them and called them 3 times. And he still doubted, which is sad. It took 15 minutes for him to look at all his text messages to see that Attorney Davis texted him and called him.
I'm kind of chuckling, Miss G, because the way the conversation started out regarding this particular potential client was, Davis, he called on Thursday. Why haven't you contacted him?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I did
Mm-hmm.
contact him. And I took screenshots and sent them to Miss G, who I
Mm-hmm.
think was surprised because the guy said I never tried to contact him and she just
Mm-hmm.
believed him.
I get mad because I always want to help you guys. So I'm always at Mr. Davis, like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't, but he did. He did. He does. But you guys are so quick to spread rumors that's not true. And if you're waiting for an attorney, look at your phone. Wouldn't you think you would have your ringer on? Wouldn't you? If your children are not with you, wouldn't you have your ringer loud enough to hear? Save his number, maybe under his name. So when he calls you, you know it's him. I mean, it's very, it's just common sense. Common sense.
Hey,
But
Miss G, I want to tell you a story.
it's
And
like I'm talking to 5-year-olds.
it's a true story. It happened maybe 20 years ago. And a guy that was my mentor, who's now deceased, um, and I were doing a trial to get the children home to the grandmother and the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked on that case so hard. And it came to the end of the case. And I honestly believe that we were going to win the case. In one of the last questions, the judge decides to ask the grandmother. He turns to the grandmother who's sitting in the witness stand and says, "Ma'am, why didn't you just blah, blah, blah?" And she kind of looked at me and looked at Michael, my co counsel, and then she started tearing up. And she turned to the judge and said, "Well, we didn't do that," meaning her and her daughter, the mother, "because we were embarrassed to tell Mr. So and so and Mr. Davis that we really didn't want the kids back." Now, here's a grandmother and a mother. And like I said, I represented the mother, and the other attorney, Michael, represented the grandmother. And, we worked really hard because we thought we had a great case to beat, CPS. And the judge was flabbergasted. And at first, I think he thought that Michael and I knew that they didn't want the kids back, because he asked her some follow-up questions. And the grandmother said something like, "Well, we were too embarrassed to ever tell the attorneys that we didn't want the kids back." And the judge was like, "Well, why?" "Well, they were fighting so hard for us. And I want to tell you something. I just assumed they wanted the kids back. I never asked them, hey, do you really want your kids back?" What a stupid question, I thought. But to this day, I kind of ask that question of people in a roundabout way. And do you know that not everyone tells me, "Yeah, I really want the kids back"? Is that shocking or surprising to you?
Mhm.
What happens? And you know what, Miss G, some people go through the motions because they don't want to feel guilty about it. I mean, people's feelings and emotions are all over the spectrum. And yes, people call you that aren't serious.
That's sad. But
I
they're
know,
wasting my time.
I
They're
know, but
wasting my time that I
there's
can give to
nothing you can
somebody
do.
else who really needs help.
There's nothing you can do about it. People that will never see this video, they will never know how you feel, and they will call you and basically use you in your time to make them feel better about the way they feel about the case. Now, listen, I am not making any judgment. It's like Planet Fitness. This is a judgment-free zone. And it just comes with the territory, Miss G. Just comes with the territory.
Hmm.
You will always have those calls. Just like I will always get people talking to me who aren't serious about getting the kids back. Now, I tell you that because I've been I've been a lawyer, 35 years, 36 years, I forget how many. And I've seen a lot, not everything. And I'm telling you right now, some people that call us really don't want the kids back. I know it's shocking. I know you wouldn't feel that way, but it's just life. It's reality. Okay?
Well, the ones that do hire, um, especially when they get help from their, from the grandmother or the father's mom, the paternal or the maternal, and they actually paid for your retainer. Common sense is to work with your attorney to help you on your case, right? So when you guys hire us, and then we have to send the substitution of attorney for you guys to sign, and then we have to send that substitution of attorney to the court for the attorney to sign to sub him out so we can sub in. That's the whole idea, right? So when you guys don't sign the damn form, there is no subbing in your case. There is no excuses. I was doing my nails, or I had to go get a haircut because I look like a mess and I have the court hearing coming up. All this bullshit, fucking put gel on your hair, slit it back, put a bow, and call it a day. But you have to get the shit done in order for us to move in your case. Then you call back and say, well, the attorney needs to do this and this and that. Well, we're not subbed in your case yet. You need to sign the damn form. I texted you 20 times, right? 20 times before Christmas. 20 times to sign the form. Then you will call after Christmas and say you were busy. Well, what the fuck? Because I was sure was answering you after Christmas, before Christmas, and during Christmas. I could have said to you, I'm busy. It's Christmas. I didn't.
Cassandra, there is a case.
God.
There is a guy that hired me within the last maybe 2.5, 3 months. And we needed to get on the case right away. We needed to start working on the case. So he hired me, signed all the documents, but he never signed the substitution of attorney form letting me into the case. He met with me and one of my attorneys, decided that he didn't like our strategy, and he fired me. Right? Then a few days goes by, he hires me back, but he still doesn't sign the form.
He's so dumb.
Then he comes to meet with me, right? And then he fires me again. When he left my office, he was so happy. Mr. Davis, you're a genius. You walk on water. You parted the Red Sea for me. We're going to get these kids back. And he fired me maybe within 24 hours.
5 times, by the way. Total of 5 times.
Then a couple days go by, he hires me back. He never signed the form.
Never.
And then this was the funny thing about it. When they finally did his trial, he calls me up the day before and said, after he fired me the last time, he says, hey, you're going to be at the trial tomorrow, right?
Crazy. He's cuckoo.
I said, well, wait a minute. You never signed the form. I said, if you sign the form, I know so much about your case just from talking to you, but I never got the file from the other attorney. So he says, no, I want you to do it. Later on that evening, he texts me. He goes, no, I don't want you to do it. Don't show up. Okay. Right.
I wouldn't even, if I was Davis, I wouldn't even take his calls. It's a waste of time.
So wait a minute.
Waste of time.
Wait a minute. This is something even more funny.
He was a womanizer too. He hates women. He told me he hates women.
So after all of this is all over, he loses the trial.
Good.
He blames me for his loss of the trial, for me not being there to fight for him. I said, didn't you text me that night and say, don't come? And you know what he said to me? At least he was honest. He said to me, Mr. Davis, I can't make up my mind. You shouldn't have taken me seriously.
We're not subbed in. We need to be subbed in to show up. We need to be subbed in to show up, right? You can't just show up.
So his court-appointed attorney, of course, was mad at me because we kept sending him emails. Hey, you're on the case, you're off the case, you're on the case, you're off the case, you're on the case. Eventually the guy's like, Davis must be crazy. So, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what people do. And I was telling this to someone today. I met with a client today. And this particular client had a really good private attorney. The client didn't like some of the things the private attorney was advising. And she called our offices and hired me. Our first meeting, I told the client, look, this is what I want you to do. A, B, C, D. All right. And then we went to court. How many of those 4 things do you think she ended up doing?
None of them?
Right. None. And had an excuse, had a legitimate reason, had a great excuses. And I said, well, don't blame me if, this case doesn't turn out right. I've told you what to do. You won't even do one of them. And eventually we went to court, got a great result for that day. And then she fires me. And before I could get the substitution of attorney to her, I don't know if she had talked to Georgette or, who she talked to. She must have talked to somebody and told her, hey, look, you're crazy if you're not following what Davis is advising you. She hires me back. Okay, so I'm back on the case. We're heading to a contested hearing next month. She comes in today and says, this is not working. We're going to lose. And she was shocked when I said, yeah, you're probably right. She said, well, how can you say that? I said, well, I told you to do 4 things. You won't do one of them. Won't do one of them. Well, Mr. Davis, tell me again what those 4 things are. Okay. For like the 5th time. But she's sitting in front of me in my office.
Mhm.
I get out a pad, I hand her a pen, and I say, here, write these down. Tell her the 4 things. Yes, Mr. Davis, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. How long did you think it took her to change her mind?
I don't know, half
20
an hour.
minutes.
It was about 15 minutes as the meeting was ended. She suddenly changed her mind. And I told her something. I said, when I was about a 10-year attorney, I would get in an argument with you, and try to make you see the error of your ways and my great strategy. I said, you know what? But I'm a 35 or whatever I am, 35 or 36-year attorney. Now, if you don't want to do what I advise you, that's on you.
Mhm.
I'm not going to argue with you. And we were telling our age, and she told me how old she was. And I said, I can't change you after, all of these years. We've only met in a very small part of your life. I mean, you are who you are. Now, I can tell you what to do to win, to get these girls back. I said, but I can't make you do it. And I'm not going to put you on my back, or flog you until you do what I say. I don't do that. I tell you, you hired me because you thought I was an expert. I am an expert. And then you decide that you don't need to do what I advise. Okay. That's great. When we don't win, don't ask me why. I don't argue with people anymore. And
One day,
you'd be shocked how many people tell me, Mr. Davis, you're wrong. Now, these are people that have hired me. Mr. Davis, that strategy doesn't work.
I'm like, how dare they? I didn't even think about telling you you're wrong. I just did it.
But you asked
that's
me
true, Cassandra. You did. Whatever.
me questions like, all right,
day.
justify it, Mr. Davis.
As soon as Mr. Davis asked me to do something, I did it that day.
I know. You did everything. Like, I think Davis was kind of shocked that she did
He
everything.
told me the same thing. Write down what you got to do. I wrote it down. I did it that day.
And
I'm not.
Cassandra didn't even ask any questions. She just did it. So, and oftentimes you guys that not happy with Davis, but yet you fuck your own case and then blame it on Davis, then you start writing some bullshit talk. I mean, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. And I don't even feel sorry for you guys. I really don't. I only do everything I can and go on and beyond for people who actually care to do the right thing for their family and their kids. But this bullshit talk and shifting blame on the other person when it's your fucking doing is ridiculous and so childish, stupid.
Hey, Deidre Payne, I didn't see the question that you posted. If you could repost it right now, I'll be able to see it. The problem is there's so many questions and posts going on. I'm getting
Deidre,
lost.
she goes on the rant.
To what?
Ask him if I could. She texted me. She said, "Ask him if I can still hire him." Okay, this is a question for me, not for Davis. Goofy.
Okay. All right.
She also wants to know. He told us. She said he told us about 2 weeks ago that he's going to be having people call on the show on a live stream, and you were going to keep the public informed of when that will happen. It hasn't happened yet.
I feel like Deidre would call like all the time.
Yeah.
She'd be on our show all the time.
Every second of every show.
Deidre, let me give you an update
You
on
have
that.
to call.
Okay. I had to hire a consultant to give me the diagram and the layout of what hooks up to what, so that the phone calls would sync with the live stream. Now, apparently, just the concept of it happening is very easy. The implementation of that is quite complicated. So I, paid the guy the money. He's doing the diagram. He's supposed to have it to me by the end of next week. It involves 2 or 3 different software programs, and they have to be integrated. If you know anything about streaming, live streaming, we use something called StreamYard. There's a number of companies out there, but we'd also have to use something called OBS, and we'd also have to use something called Blog Talk Radio, where I used to do my blog radio show from. Okay, so I promise you, Deidre, that once this gets, I get the diagram, and then I may have to buy some parts, and maybe buy 1 or 2 other app softwares. We'll be in business. But once in business, it'll be great.
Oh God, he explained way too much. Deidre, you should be happy he actually explained himself. He usually doesn't.
That's true, Deidre. I don't. If you were Miss G, it'd be like, forget it, girl.
We will be fighting for 2 hours just for him to explain something that he was never going to explain to begin with.
Chime Girl says, Miss G and Mr. Davis. Miss G, you sent me the link to this live tonight. I am being alienated from my daughter. I have let the CSW, I guess, know many times, showed proof of my attempts to contact her. Okay, Chime Girl, but what's the question? Oh, here, listen to this. She's my favorite now. I will listen to whatever you say, Mr. Davis.
Oh God, I want to vomit. Just a
Bless
little.
you, bless you. Oh, here it is again. I'll be whatever you say I need to be and do, Mr. Ah, there you go. It comes, yeah, they're delayed because we got like 8 social media platforms I have to go through. You just happen to be watching on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, give me a like and give us a subscribe to our channel. Cassandra, I recently found out by looking at some statistics on the YouTube studio that half the people that watch our show are not subscribers. Only 50% of the people that watch the show are actually subscribers. The reason why that's important, it relates to the algorithm on YouTube.
I'm subscribed.
Nice. I,
Everybody,
has Miss G subscribed?
I don't know, Miss G, have you subscribed to the channel?
Yeah.
I bet Miss G doesn't even know how to subscribe.
You know what?
Oh, here's one. Here's a good one. That Deidre.
You know, he's such a.
Just let me fill up that bottom right or left corner next to Cassandra, and then I won't have to leave all my posts.
She wants to be a guest on the show,
Okay.
and I will make it happen, Deidre. Goofy, you have my cell, so you can just text me. I didn't even know you wanted to be a guest. She'll text me.
So if anybody wants to be a guest, text Miss
No, no,
G.
no, 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 no. Email Miss G. Deidre is just, she has my cell number. She can
Okay.
the rest can email Miss G if they want to be a guest.
Miss Deidre said not a guest. She wants to be a co-host.
Oh Lord, Deidre. I don't know if the world is ready for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk later, Deidre. We'll talk later. We'll talk later. There's things that Davis doesn't know, but we'll talk later.
Yeah, there's always things Davis doesn't know, Cassandra.
I plead the fifth.
I bet you do. Okay, ladies, we're way past the time. We're almost
Wait, I need to address something to you guys real quick. If you guys are getting help from your relatives, please don't take that lightly. Even though they're funding your case, please, again, you have to also help your attorney to help you. Your family members do not, the family that paid for your retainer doesn't know anything about your case. So when we call you and we ask you questions, you need to be available at all times. And please, please, please don't take it for granted, because not everybody has a family member that can help them. And also family members who are upset with their own flesh and blood because of something that happened in Thanksgiving, or a fight, or a misunderstanding, or whatever. When you see that your family is suffering and their kids are not with them for a CPS case, please don't turn the other way from them. Help them. They need help financially. They need help mentally. They need to know somebody's there for them. You have to be able to be there for them, because you do not want that child to be away from the family just because you have anger issues with the other family member. Remember, put everything aside and focus on the children. And I'm saying this to every relative, family member, friends, all that. It needs to be put aside, please, and focus on the kids, only the children. Thank you.
all right. Miss G, Miss Cassandra, thank you for co-hosting with me tonight. We've gone way
We're
past.
not co-hosting, Davis. You need to make up your mind. We're either host or co-hosting. Which one are we?
I'll let you know
Well,
tomorrow.
I'm done.
Right.
I'm done.
Everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Good night.